Okay, this is for Algebra 2's Wednesday assignment. This is Miss Cash. I'm going to work you through a couple of the problems and then let you work the rest on your own. You guys know how to do inverses. You've been doing them for a little while in class now. You just got to focus and get in on it. All right, the first thing I did here was I went ahead and circled that f of x. Remember, f of x is the same as y. And that's important because we figured we could rewrite inverses by switching x and y. So if I do that, I'm going to rewrite this equation, but I'm going to put x equals, instead of f of x or y, and then it's going to be negative 4/3 y, I need to change that there to a y, plus 4/3. So I didn't change anything but switching x and y. The next step is to undo whatever's been done so I can get y by itself. Well, just like before, whatever's been added at the end, I'm going to undo by subtracting it or flipping it to the other side. If I do that, I'll end up with x minus 4/3 because I flipped it equals negative 4/3 y. That was the simple step. Now the next step is to undo what's been multiplied by y. Take a second, turn to your neighbor. What's the opposite of multiply times something? So I hope you said divide. However, remember with divide, we could get the same effect by keep, change, flip, or in other words, multiplying by something, the thing that you want to divide by, but the inverse, the reciprocal, flip it. So instead of dividing by 4/3, I'm going to multiply times 3/4. And it is negative, so I'm also going to multiply by the negative. If I do that to this side, I also have to do that to this side, times negative 3/4. Why does that work? Well, see how I have a 3 on top, 3 on bottom? Those divide out to give me 1. I also have a 4 on top, 4 on bottom. Those divide out to give me 1. And a negative times a negative gives me a positive, which leaves me with a positive 1y, which I can simply write as y. And then over here I have a little bit of a distributive property problem. Just multiply this times both pieces inside the parentheses. So I'm going to get negative 3/4 x, and then a negative times a negative will give me plus, and 3/4 times 4/3, I think we already did that problem over here, gives us 1. So there is our inverse equation. Now if we want to write it in inverse notation, we would simply write f, and then we put the negative 1 exponent of x. That's read the inverse of f of x. And it's going to equal negative 3/4 x minus 1, simply by looking at that we did just there. Okay. Now it asks us to graph it. Okay. I'd like you to graph them in 2 different colors so you can see which is which. Let's graph the first one in purple. If I go here knowing y equals mx plus b, my b is 4/3, which is just a little bit above 1. And then my slope is negative 4/3, which means rise over run, down 4/3. So from this point, I'll count down 1, 2, 3, 4, and over 1, 2, 3. Get another point right here. I'm kind of out of space. I can't fit another point, but if I just use a straight edge, I can connect those, and I know they should be a straight line. Then if I go to do the same thing with the inverse of f of x, I did something wrong here. Did you guys catch that? This was plus 1, and for some reason when I copied it, I made it minus 1. It should be plus 1. So my intercept is at positive 1. And then I have down 3/4, so just a slightly different slope than the other. Down 1, 2, 3, and over 1, 2, 3, 4. And then take a straight edge and draw my line. Now you could have done this by putting them in the calculator and looking for some whole number points. That would work too. But this is fairly easy. Don't forget to put some arrows on the end because they do go on forever. And there is your inverse. Remember, they flip right across this line right here. Y equals x. And you can kind of see how they're reflected across that line. All right, I'm going to do the next one with you. I'm not going to graph the next one. I'm just going to do the inverse. I'll leave the graphing to you. You have calculators to help you with that. So let's move on up and look at the next one. Okay, again, switching out y for f of x and then swapping x and y. So we're going to say that x equals negative 4 over x. Whoops, we're going to switch that for y. Minus 2. And then minus 1 at the end. So starting with the furthest away from y, starting with the last in the order of PEMDAS, we're going to get rid of this subtraction by flipping it to the other side and making it addition. X plus 1. Everything else is going to stay the same. Now, this is where it gets something we haven't done before. If we need to get this out of the denominator, what's the opposite of dividing by something? Hopefully you're thinking multiply. So we're going to multiply both sides by y minus 2. Go ahead and put in parentheses to show I'm multiplying by the whole thing. Here they divide out, make 1. So I've got y minus 2 times the quantity x plus 1 equals negative 4. Just recopying it. Gotta get rid of x plus 1. Right now it's multiplied. Tell everybody what you do to get the opposite of multiplication. Hopefully you said division. We're going to divide by x plus 1. On this side, that makes 1, which means those go away, and I have y minus 2. And on this side, okay. Last step, I got this minus 2 with the y. Got to get rid of it, so I'm going to add 2 to both sides, which gives me y equals negative 4 over x plus 1 plus 2 when I change that to a plus 2. Final answer, you can use your calculator to graph those. Please do make a nice neat graph using some actual numbers. And don't forget that the last 20 minutes of class, go ahead and log on and spend 15 minutes on Study Island. Have a great day, and I will see you guys soon.